In a world he found endlessly amusing, the figure known as Shadow relished the fact that he had an infinite supply of meat to slaughter. He mused that his bandit kill count had been lagging lately, and he was beginning to miss the thrill of the hunt. However, playtime was almost over. He figured he should head back soon, so no one would notice he had snuck out. Still, he couldn't help but look forward to the coming stampede. He already had the perfect one-liner prepared for when it started. With a final explosive burst of power, the area was reduced to rubble. The next morning, a cheerful Akane greeted Minoru-kun, asking how his headache was and if he had managed to get some rest. Minoru, looking fresh and sparkly, replied that yes, a nice slaughter had fixed him right up. Akane, simply happy to hear he felt better, apologized for having to move him so suddenly, explaining that they were short on beds after the previous day's incident. She told him she'd like him to stay here from now on. Minoru looked around, asking if this was a classroom. Akane confirmed that, with the dorms and temporary housing full, they had to convert some classrooms into living spaces. She explained that while it wasn't much of a room, just a space hastily made with partitions, this would be his. It was, she added, right next to hers. With a playful smile, she warned him not to peek. Minoru, ever the dedicated background character, stammered that he would never do such a thing. Akane just laughed, telling him it was a joke and that he didn't need to be so formal around her. She then remembered he didn't have any other clothes and offered him something to wear while his were being cleaned. Minoru looked at the folded clothes, wondering what they were. Akane handed them over, encouraging him to put them on and assuring him he would look great in them. A moment later, Minoru announced that he was done changing. Akane eagerly turned to see if the size was okay. He emerged from behind the partition, adjusting his new tie. Akane's eyes widened. Minoru looked back at her. He asked what was wrong. Akane's eyes welled with tears as she whispered that he really looked just like him. She quickly composed herself, apologizing for her sudden outburst and explaining she was just remembering something from the past. Minoru, completely misreading the situation, thought it wasn't cool of her to look at his face and start laughing, though he supposed it was okay since he also laughed when he remembered funny things. A flustered Akane said she would go get his clothes washed and would be right back. As she left, she told him she was glad the uniform fit so perfectly, adding that it was something she had been keeping safe for a while. Minoru observed that it did indeed fit him like a glove and was pretty much the same as what he wore back then. But he knew there was no way it could be the same uniform. After all, his old one had bloodstains on the sleeve from where he'd punched a thug. A shiver went down his spine as he wondered why on earth she would be keeping it safe. Suddenly, a large man kicked the door partition in, demanding to know if Minoru was the kid Akane had picked up. Minoru feigned terror, shaking as the man told him not to shit his pants. Introducing himself as Saejima Yudai, a lieutenant of the Knights. Minoru's faint memories clicked into place. This was the gorilla from his old class. And my, hadn't he grown into such a fine, big gorilla? He used to be just a simple background gorilla. Saejima's thoughts were less charitable. He angrily demanded to know why Minoru was wearing a knight's uniform, shouting that only knights were allowed to wear them. A terrified-looking Minoru insisted he knew and wasn't going to walk around in it. He explained he was just borrowing it until his clothes were clean, as Akane had insisted. Saejima snapped. He grabbed Minoru's collar, telling him to stop yapping. He snarled that Minoru didn't get to mess around, explaining a rumor about a rat from an enemy base sneaking into Messiah. And, he added, something told him that Minoru was that rat. He bluntly accused him of being a spy. Minoru continued his act, stammering that there was no way he could be a spy. Saejima didn't buy it for a second, raising a fist and threatening to feed Minoru to the beasts if he didn't fess up. A voice called out for him to stop, and Akane swooped in to block the punch. She demanded to know what he was doing. Saejima replied that he was interrogating him, obviously, because of the rat problem. He argued that the guy nobody knew anything about was clearly the most suspicious. Akane stood protectively in front of Minoru, pointing out that he'd only been there for 2 days, and word had it the rat arrived earlier than that. Saejima scoffed at the lovebirds, saying he could interrogate Minoru any time. He reminded Akane not to be late for the meeting because she was too busy with her boy toy. After he left, Akane stood trembling with rage, muttering what a disgusting piece of... At the meeting, the captain, a man named Haitani, announced that since all squad leaders were present, they could begin. Akane reported that the squad investigating the brutal had returned with new information. The captain projected an image, explaining it was Nishino Elementary School. The building was reduced to rubble, and the slain beasts had cuts aimed precisely at their vitals. Akane asked if it was the work of the brutal. The captain thought it unlikely, as the wounds were from a single blade, not fangs or claws. Saejima exploded, calling it bullshit and questioning if one person could have killed them all. He insisted no one could defeat dozens of beasts with a regular weapon. The captain calmly stated that, except, they all knew of one person who could have achieved that. Someone who could slay hundreds of beasts and cut through buildings like butter. The original knight. The room erupted in murmurs. One knight protested that no one knew where the original knight disappeared to after destroying Arcadia. Akane put a hand to her chin, grimly concluding that the knight must have shown up to destroy Messiah next. The captain advised caution, noting it was just one theory for now with no proof. But, he continued, with the threat of the apex and the stampede rising, if the original knight also showed up, their chances of survival... His thought was cut off by a blaring alarm. It was an attack! The beasts were here! The captain slammed his hands on the table, ordering everyone off duty to be woken up, yelling that they couldn't allow a breach. Saejima ordered everyone to their positions, and Akane affirmed the command. A horde of beasts swarmed the base's walls. Knights on the wall knew it wouldn't hold them off for long against so many. One was nearly devoured by a monster lunging over the barrier. Akane leaped into the fray, saving a comrade and cutting down beasts. She fought fiercely, wondering if the stampede had already begun. Slicing through another monster, the captain, now on the battlefield, noted they weren't agitated enough for a stampede. This, he declared, was just a taste of what's to come. Akane couldn't believe this was only a taste. A report came in that the north gate was almost breached. Akane knew that even with everyone called back to base, they wouldn't last. She made a decision, telling the captain she would draw their attention, giving them time to reorganize. He shouted that she was crazy and would be overwhelmed, telling her to get back. But Akane dashed forward, confident she would be fine. She would defeat all of her enemies with her own hands, just as she'd always done. She found herself facing a massive, shadowy beast. It was huge. She struck, but her sword bounced off its hide, unable to cut through. Just then, a storm of black energy erupted, and the captain wondered if it was wind. Other knights watched in awe as the black wind cut the beasts to pieces. A boot landed softly atop a monster's corpse. Akane looked up to see a cloaked figure standing over the carnage. The mysterious man looked to the moon, declaring that the wind is weeping. Akane stared, speechless. With a final sweeping slash of dark energy, he cleared the remaining beasts. The captain rushed to Akane's side, asking if she was all right. He wondered aloud who that man was and what his cryptic comment about weeping wind meant. Akane, still processing, said she didn't know, but with his incredible power, he must be an awakener too. She looked at the spot where the Black Knight had been, concluding that all they could do now was pray he wasn't their enemy. In a quiet part of the base, Saejima walked alone under the moonlight. He grumbled about all the crap popping up. First talk of the original knight returning, and now this Black Knight. He decided he might as well go put that stupid kid out of his misery. He threw open the door to Minoru's partitioned room. He belligerently asked what the intruder wanted, insisting he was doing his job just fine. His eyes went wide with sheer, undiluted terror at what he saw.